And we're back. Okay, so okay, your ship arrives in Port Said on Monday, March 9th. As your contact at the hotel mentioned to you, the harbor is too shallow for the steamer to pull into the docks, so it heaves to in the shallows, where it is immediately surrounded by a flotilla of small crafts. Some of these, you swear, are nothing more than upended shipping crates, which you expect to be swamped and capsized if more than two people step aboard. Um, you see the group that was mentioned to you by the hotel. You recognize them by their name and their flags, and uh, you're able to flag them down, and uh, they are able to come up the gangplank and fetch you and your stuff and get aboard their little skiff, and away towards the shore you go. Uh, then they help you make it to the train station. The British were very efficient in spreading railways across the country of Egypt. You can catch trains to every major city in Egypt from here. The journey to Cairo is approximately 100 miles and will take most of the daylight hours, with several stops along the way. You make it into Cairo around 6 p.m. local time. The first thing you notice after getting off the train is the crush of humanity. For many of you, this is the largest city you've ever been in. And the second thing you notice is the insane amount of abject poverty. Beggars line the street next to the train station. The smell of unwashed bodies is overpowering. As you break past the crush of people, you see lines of cabs, both motorized and horse-drawn. Lewis, you see a man holding a sign with your name on it.
All right. I go over to him.
Okay. Um, so, Mr. Lewis, we're here from the hotel.
All right.
Can we get you and your companion's bags?
Sure. I'm looking for his ID, or he should be having some type of jacket or something.
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
he appears to be from the
Yeah.
hotel that you contacted.
And I mention the our gang and um, start moving towards the vehicle.
Very good. You make it to your hotel without incident. Your rooms are waiting for you.
Excellent.
What is your plan for the rest of the evening?
Success. I retire undefeated in Egypt.
Since it's evening,
Yes. It's about 7 o'clock by the time you get checked in and get your bags up to the rooms and all of that.
well, I'm gonna go
It's fu-
to. Go ahead,
no good.
Carl. I was gonna see the concierge and set up for a Drago man for the next day.
Excellent. Yes, he tells you that the hotel has a gentleman that they use fairly often, whose name is Salim Naziz, um, and that while he's not available on an indefinite basis, he certainly is available tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
for the morning if you'd like him to take you out.
Yes, that would be quite good. Uh, now, does my character know where my contact, where I am supposed to meet my intelligence asset contact?
Um, you don't know, but you think you figure that they'll probably make contact with you at the hotel
All right.
over the sometime over the next couple of days.
All right. I will let I'll also ask the concierge for a couple of the newspapers for Cairo, um, so I can get an idea of what's been going on, what's happening, and what's going on.
Sure. So he gives you a copy of the Cairo Bulletin. It's an
Mm.
English language newspaper, and the concierge mentions to you that he really likes this paper because their offices are right around the corner, actually, from the hotel.
Hmm. I make a mental note of that. Excellent.
Do we
And
get a name of the hotel that we're staying at?
Yes, you are staying at the Royal Plaza.
and I will set up for with the with the hotel. What's it called? The For us to find out about places nearby for buying appropriate apparel for Egypt with the heat, because
So it is only March, so the weather has not turned horribly, horribly warm yet.
okay, so what we have will be appropriate. Excellent.
You know, you can forego your heavy winter coats that you had in London, but it's still uh, fairly mild. It is, 60s, 70s during the days.
Mm. All right. Well, gentlemen, shall we at least dine tonight and get well rested?
I bet we could find a pretty good Egyptian restaurant.
Takes pictures with some mummies.
I don't know
Okay,
about
you have a pleasant meal. Not too much of note happens, and you retire for the night. You wake on the morning of, look at that, we've crossed another day off the calendar already. Tuesday, March 10th.
My birthday.
Yay! And and when you finish breakfast in the morning, Salim is waiting for you, and he speaks very good English with a touch of an accent, also fluent Arabic. Says, "Gentlemen, welcome. It's
nice
good
to
to
meet
see
you.
you. What can I help you with today?"
Well, we need, I don't know about you, gentlemen, but I would like to check in with the Cairo Museum, um, and also the this Cairo Bulletin, because as you know, our, your friend Elias was a reporter, and more than likely he made contact with various news organizations wherever he went. They might have an idea, and those are two places he would have contacted, I would suspect. Um, and we try to get an idea of what he was looking into.
So Salim tells you that while he's happy to follow you around. If you're just going to the Cairo Bulletin, it is literally halfway down the block from your hotel, so
Hmm.
probably don't need his services for that. You should be able to
No.
find it. Um, and similarly, the Egyptian Museum, there's a tram that goes directly from your hotel to there. It's a
Ah,
10-minute ride, very, very easy. All of the signage is in English. Um, again, he's happy to point that out to you, but he doesn't want to charge you for his services just
excellent.
to you know walk you to the train and hold your hand.
Oh, I understand. Well, I wasn't sure how things had changed or things. It's always better to be prepared, but there is somebody I want to that we would like to. We're interested in doing some artifact buying later on, and there is a dealer that since we're going to check out these air tube, maybe he can find our the our guide can find out if this guy is still on that's at his place, or find out where he is, and then we can go there the next day. Is a I know he was on the street of Jackals. Let me find the thing I had wrote out. What I'm really interested in is finding out about. Whoops. I don't need two of these up.
The Carlisle expedition thing.
Yeah, there was from the. I had written down who we should be looking for, and I'm trying to. One of the ones was on the street of Jackals.
Faraj Najar.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he. I mentioned a. Yeah, where is it here? Yeah, a Faraz Najir, a merchant named Faraz Najir, who is on the street of Jackals. So if we can't use Dragoman today, maybe tomorrow, and maybe he can find out if this man is still there. A merchant named Faraz Najir, and I do believe he is a dealer in Egyptian artifacts and antiquities.
So, he tells you that, typically he doesn't go off alone to places. He's typically, he's a guide, so he's happy to take you to this street of jackals.
All right.
And if you'd like to do that today, you have his time booked.
Well, is he free tomorrow?
Tomorrow,
Available tomorrow?
Tomorrow he would not be free until the late afternoon.
Oh, that would be fine then. We'll set it up for late afternoon. I just want to make sure that he knows where the Street of Jackals is.
He does know where the Street of Jackals is.
Excellent,
yes.
excellent. Because we'll probably be hitting a couple other artifact dealers as well. But I had heard about this one from a good friend of mine. And so this is someone I definitely want to see, but there's probably others I want to see. And I will count on you to show me some of the finer dealers in the area.
Very well, sir. Then
I appreciate your honesty and upfrontness. It's always appreciated, no matter where one travels.
So you don't actually need me for today, then?
No, I guess I do not. I thought I did, but it looks like I don't need you today. However, and I do pay him a bit for at least taking up his time that he could have had for someone else. And I said, I appreciate you, you taking the time and being honest with us.
Very well, sir. I will see you tomorrow after lunch.
All right. And I look at the rest of the gentlemen. Which place do we want? Since the newspaper is right next door, shall we just go next door?
Sounds good to me.
All right.
Okay.
We trying to find there?
Well, what we're trying to do is find out what leads Jackson had. We know that Jackson typically, when he went places, went to newspaper organizations, and we have one right next door. And we know fairly sure he probably hit the Cairo Museum because he would also check there about certain things. So I'm trying to backtrack what he checked up on, because that might give us leads of what he was thinking.
Alrighty then.
Then tomorrow we'll check out this guy that had been in contact with the Carlisle expedition and had been mentioned in the notes of Elijah Jackson. I was going while on the boat. I was going over all your clues and stuff like that, and kind of made a list of people that we may want to contact here in Egypt, and who we may want to avoid to the last moment. Um, so that's what I was thinking. So we have a European breakfast, I guess, or I do. The Americans might have something a little heavier.
Okay, so you're heading next
Breakfast
door to
burritos.
the Cairo Bulletin?
Yes.
Okay. Great. So you head over there. Uh the proprietor is a man named Nigel Wasif. Um so Nigel is appears to be in his early 40s. Um he is he has slick down hair and a pencil thin mustache. His clothes are excellently cut and conservative, and he appears spotlessly clean and unruffled. Um, and as you come in, he says, gentlemen, welcome to the Cairo Bulletin. What can I do for you today?
I was enjoying your newspaper last night after we had arrived in Cairo. Nice piece of work there. I am Louis Lipton Lepon, um, and my friends and I are kind of chasing down some old leads by a good friend of ours, a Elias Jackson.
I'm sorry, I don't know that name, but I'm happy to help you try to find whatever you like in our archives.
Oh, okay, all right, because our friend was a reporter himself and had written several books, and he usually hit various newspapers to make contacts, and we figured he might have stopped here in Cairo since we
I
knew
mean,
he was in Cairo.
it's possible, but I do see a lot of people, and do have some other staff as well. I'm not the only person that while I am the owner, I'm not here 24 hours a day. So
Mm. Yeah, he was looking into the old Carlisle expedition story, looking at it from different angles.
yes, the Carlisle expedition. Yes, I do remember them. Uh, here about 5 6 years ago. Uh, I do remember that they were simply horrid in keeping visitors away from their sites, and including the press. We had some difficulty in covering that expedition. Uh, but let me see what I can pull out for you.
Oh,
And
that would be quite excellent. I know that they had and I do believe they were funded by the Penn U Foundation, weren't they?
yes, it definitely.
Mm. Are you having the same issue with their current um, site? Or I'd heard that someone named Dr. Clive was involved in a new dig funded by the Penn U Foundation.
Yes, they were excavating at Giza. Whole bunch of interesting things there. Well, let me get you the papers on the Penhu. I mean the Carlyles, and then we can talk about the Clives, because that's a very long story.
Oh,
Uh, and he kind of claps his hands, and a servant comes in. He says, "Please get some tea for these gentlemen, and I'll be back in a little while.
Mhm.
Sounds good.
Okay. Um, Lewis, would you like to make a psychology roll?
Yes, I will. Let's take a look at my psychology. Not bad.
Hard success.
Nice.
Lewis, you have a feeling that you two may be kindred spirits. There's something
Ah.
about his mannerism. Uh, there's something about him that makes you think that he might also have a double life.
Hmm.
Okay, so after 20 minutes or so, he comes back with several clippings and photographs. Um, the There's a photograph showing Sir Aubrey, Roger Carlyle, Hypatia Masters, and Robert Huston emerging from a dinner in their honor at the Turf Club, 2 days after their arrival in Cairo. Carlyle is blond and handsome. Huston is darker and plumper, with a somewhat worried smile. Sir Aubrey is white-haired, tall and distinguished. Hypatia Masters is blonde and beautifully gowned. A man in a tight tuxedo in the background may be Jack Brady, but as a mere employee, he's unidentified. Bits of data in the society and news sections of the bulletin weave a single story. The expedition arrived in Cairo in May of 1919, avowedly to survey for and excavate sites linked with the Third Dynasty, a shadowy period in Egyptian history. After investigations near Giza, work shifted first to a site at Saqqara, then to Dashur. Since the specific digs seemed unrelated to known Third Dynasty locations, speculation arose about the expedition's secret purpose. Later, rumors are mentioned concerning gossip that Carlyle had made an astonishing find. Then, in July of 1919, the expedition suddenly embarked for Mombasa, ostensibly on holiday. Other articles highlight that Roger Carlyle was said to have fallen ill around this time. As spokesman, Sir Aubrey indicated that the summer was too hot for Carlyle, and also implied that the impending seasonal flood of the Nile would cover an important site for several months. Several photographs show Hypatia Masters with her camera, subtitled or captioned "Miss Masters prepares for a camera safari in Kenya." Anyone want to make a spot hidden roll?
Sure. Do you just want one of us to do it, or any?
You know, all of you can.
All right, I succeeded.
So you notice that the background of this picture, or one of the photographs, contains part of a calendar page for May. It appears that Wasif ran these photographs in July, even though they were actually taken the first few days after the arrival of the expedition.
All right. And when he come, I ask about that. I say, I noticed that some of these pictures are of early pictures. There doesn't seem to be any pictures of them later on in Egypt.
So it's only Hypatia Masters that one's missing. Wasif shrugs, claiming not to remember using earlier photographs. You know from your journalism background that this is in fact common newspaper practice if more recent pictures are not available.
Mm-hmm. And I will make
Um,
mention of that.
he says, now that you mention it, I think Miss Masters also reportedly fell ill in June and hadn't recovered when the group departed for Kenya.
Hmm. Interesting. Yes. And is is there any difference between the earlier photos of the group and later photos of the group? Just taking a look at it, and
So there aren't that many later pictures of either Carlisle or Hypatia Masters. Um, there doesn't seem to be. I mean, everyone seems a lot more tan in some of the later pictures. But other than that, no other significant differences.
hmm.
Um,
uh,
Wasif also recalls that the principals of the expedition had dinner several times with one Omar al Shakti, a wealthy cotton plantation owner.
Hmm. I go. That is a name that sounds familiar. What is known about this Omar Shakti?
So Wasif kind of looks around a little bit and says, "Well, he's a businessman of supposedly impeccable reputation. Personally, I don't really like the man, and I found that his private reputation is unsavory."
All right. I look around the room. Is it just us and him?
At the moment, yes.
Yeah. His name has come up before in England.
In
I assume
England,
you keep. I assume you keep track of what goes on in England, particularly to the Pennu Foundation.
well, Sir Aubrey Pennu was part of the Carlisle expedition.
Hmm. Okay, because then I assume that you're aware of the recent um, issues with the Pennu Foundation recently.
Haven't heard anything too recently. No.
Okay. Well, Omar Shakti's
Only thing
is.
I know is that they've undertaken a number of or helped to underwrite a number of other
Mm,
expeditions in Egypt over the last
mm,
6 years. The current one is the Clive expedition.
mhm. Well, our friend Elias Jackson was starting to uncover a organization that seemed to be having connections around the globe, particularly several British former or current colonies. Um, and it seems that one of the things that came up as I look around was one of the things that we discovered in England, and we know it's here, would be known as the Dark Pharaoh. And kind of keeping an eye on him to see how he reacts to that.
So he kind of laughs that off and says, "Oh, you shouldn't believe what what sh- you know shady backstreet characters tell you. It's not as if we're living in the Dark Ages here in Cairo."
Hmm.
Yes, but
Huh.
maybe not what we believe, but those people of the Carlisle expedition. Any idea what they might have believed?
Oh, I have no idea. I didn't. As I said, they kept the press at arm's length, so I didn't ever get to conduct any interviews with them. Just
Hmm.
they would occasionally pose for photos, and
Is that normal?
who's to say what's normal with a bunch of rich Americans and one Englishman?
But other expeditions, do they treat the heat the press so hands off?
For the most part, no. A lot of them want the notoriety. Although, given what just happened with the Clive expedition, maybe they had some cause to be a little bit worried. So
What?
the Pennu Foundation has the Clive expedition here. They were excavating at Giza, and they recently unearthed a mummy of an unknown female from a secret chamber in Mycerinus's pyramid. It's the smallest of the three great pyramids. Um, Several authorities have speculated that it's Queen Nitocris, a mysterious figure of the 6th dynasty. However, before a test could be carried out or the mummy unwrapped, the sarcophagus and its contents disappeared, much to the bewilderment of all concerned. Considerable efforts by the police have turned up no leads. The site was well guarded, and only one entrance to the secret chamber existed. It really is a complete mystery as to what could have happened. Besides the loss of the mummy, I've also heard rumors that the expedition's Dutch archaeologist was fired for incompetence, among other things. As far as I know, the man, what was his name? Jan Wilhelm van Hoevelen. He couldn't afford a return ticket to Europe, so I think he's still holed up here somewhere.
Really?
Hmm. Yeah.
Wouldn't
He
happen
might be a
to, and you don't know whereabouts you might be staying.
I don't, but I'm sure if you checked with the Dutch consulate, um, you might be able to find out. Otherwise, you know, if you could get in touch with the Clive expedition, you might be able to get one of them to tell you.
Hmm. Well, that would be a good one to check out. That does seem interesting that the foundation seems to keep on running into issues.
Yes, bad luck all around.
Hmm. That is most unfortunate. Um, in fact, like I said, unfortunately, our friend Elias Jackson met a unsavory end in New York, and this is why we're kind of. He was a close friend to all of us, and um, we're backtracking some of the stuff he was because I guess what he was investigating might have been part of the reason he had this unsavory ending. And so far, we've been able to track it from New York to England, and now we're checking the connection to Egypt. And it seems that two organizations are either working together or are the same. One being a organize a what you guys ran into would have been known as the Bloody Tongue. Uh, um, a And then in England, we ran into remnants or an organization known as the Dark Pharaoh. Um,
You really shouldn't speak of such things. It just will make people draw suspicion into you or think that you're
well,
just
that's why.
rubes of Americans. You really shouldn't mention the Black Pharaoh.
Well, that's why I'm only mentioning it to you
You
in
really
this
shouldn't
room.
mention it out loud at all.
I understand exactly what you're saying, and I appreciate that.
Do you want to make a psychology roll?
I'm even without the psychology role, I'm getting a good idea about it, but I will do it. No, I fail. I guess I could. No, I'm not going to spend 26 points to be successful on that. but I'm already getting a good enough read as it is, just by the way he's acting. I go, I understand exactly what you're saying. Um, as you said, things cause concern, and but there's a couple other names our friend Elijah Jackson mentioned. I write down the two names that were mentioned. The one being the artifact dealer, and the other one would be that a M. Warren Bizart.
He tells you that he's not heard of either of these people.
Mm-hmm. And on a piece of paper, so he can get rid of it later on, I draw a line. I write down the name of Omar Al Shakti and definitely a connector to, uh, um, just abbreviate it, BP, and just leave it at that.
I don't know what this is, and really, I'm going to tell
Mhm.
you again.
Yeah,
I think
I
I
know.
think that
I know.
you gentlemen should leave.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time. Um, and I shake his hand for taking the time to do that to us, and I appreciate your excellent advice.
Okay.
Having observed this,
Yes,
I make a psychology roll.
you definitely think that he knows way more than he's letting on about both Omar al Shakti and the Brotherhood of the Black Pharaoh.
Okay, and once he's out of earshot, I let these guys know that the study that I did of Amongst the Stones dealt with the Queen Necrosis that he mentioned them finding and disappearing under mysterious circumstances, that dealt with her circlet that had a large diamond in her girdle that was linked with a golden chain. Um, it was some epic poetry from long ago that dealt with all these trappings of the queen. So I think there might be something to this.
Oh, as we're leaving, I do leave him the one of the cards from the hotel, and I say, if you find out any other information that would help us with um, our interests, this is where we're staying. And I said,
Around
and
the corner.
around the corner, I said, and we'll be quiet about everything else that you have mentioned. I understand where you're coming from. And I bow to him. And we leave.
Okay. Where is next on your list?
Shall we hit, gentlemen, shall we hit the Cairo Museum next?
That sounds good to me.
Okay.
Number of days successfully completed without having to worry about people trailing us now is reset to 0.
Well,
We had made it to 2.
Now we can start watching for tails again.
well,
We're asking
I look at
around
the,
about the bad guys. The bad guys around the corner. It's good
I
time.
say, well, gentlemen,
The guy
now
we're
that you
asking
mention-
is concerned about him.
well, I said, shall we? In fact, gentlemen, do keep an eye out and see if we are being trailed, because we did leave some friends back in England that might have talked, and So I am kind of concerned that we may have people following us here.
Yes, the telegraph is faster than the steamship.
Yeah, I'm hoping and praying that maybe someone was a little bit busy with consolidating their power, but I don't count on it. And so we head to the Cairo Museum and also keeping an eye out in case we're being tailed or monitored.
Okay. All right. The museum, a staggering storehouse of Egyptian antiques, is not far from the Nile and Qasr El Nil Bridge. The building's large ochre dome is a prominent landmark in the city. This former palace houses an ever-growing collection of everything precious to the Egyptian past and is open to visitors from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
All right.
Do, 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 do. So, what is your plan here at the museum?
I'm going to say, we knew Elias Jackson's itinerary how long ago when he was here, and I'll go up. We had a friend. If there's a place that there's, we have a friend that might have came here to get advice from some of your people. He would have been here, and I gave him the approximate date. Said that his name was Elijah Jackson.
Jackson Elias?
Yes, Jackson Elias.
Okay, so the reception person says, well, I think that he probably would have spoken to Dr. Kafour if he spoke to anyone, if he didn't just wander through the collection. I can take you up to his office and you can ask him.
Oh, that would be quite excellent if he has the time.
Okay. So, take you up.
Being a museum curator, I think I would like to play this as a professional visit, perhaps following on the Carlisle expedition and the Queen Necrosis, what they have from that. I think we can drop those names and see what kind of happens.
Okay.
Well, why don't you go ahead and speak up, Alistair?
Sure.
It
So
seems to be your area of expertise.
take you up to the offices, and there's an older gentleman in his mid-60s, and he's a short and thin older man, and his name is Dr. Ali Kafour.
I greet Dr. Kafour and kind of ask him, we are colleagues of Jackson Elias, and I know that he was working an angle on some of the discoveries that were made here, and we've been following the exploits of the Carlisle expedition. We've heard that they had some wonderful findings.
So when you mention both Jackson's name and the Carlisle expedition, his eyes light up, and he ushers you all into the office and closes the door. And says, "You must be the friends of Jackson that he'd mentioned. I was so sorry to hear about his death. But he did mention that he was going to be bringing in a group of friends to help continue some of his research. I met with him, but only briefly back in November. He only could spend a couple of hours here. He was nervous and driven, and constantly seemed to be checking over his shoulder throughout our conversation." he too wanted to know about the Carlisle expedition. Um, I'd I had a meeting to attend, so I couldn't fully answer all of his questions at that time. So we scheduled another appointment, but Jackson never turned up. Um, I'm gonna warn you that. All right, someone's watching Family Guy.
We got a lot of background noise here.
Okay.
It looks like maybe my
Yeah.
microphone has come
Oh
out
yeah.
here.
It switched back to your computer mic.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It fell out.
Um. So
I thought I was going crazy.
he does warn you that that you too are placing yourselves in the path of great danger by your actions.
Yeah, we sort of got that indication with a talk with someone else that was, trying to keep it low key.
Um. So he says, I believe that the Carlisle expedition uncovered a secret pertaining to the Black Pharaoh, and that their discovery somehow led to their slaughter in Kenya. Sir Aubrey Penyu had long studied the Black Pharaoh, and he and I discussed the topic several times and traded information about that subtle presence. But when he last came to Egypt, he didn't come seek me out. When I visited the expedition dig near Dashur, Sir Aubrey rudely rebuffed me. I remember marked changes in Sir Aubrey. Physically, the man seemed younger, and emotionally, he was withdrawn, aloof, and curiously malicious. Sit. Let me tell you what I've found out about the Black Pharaoh over all my time of study. At the end of the Third Dynasty, a man known as Nephron Ka came to Egypt. Nephron Ka was a powerful sorcerer. He brought madness and death to his enemies at the flick of a finger. The stories say that he came from an ancient city in the deserts of Arabia, whose name was Arim, the city of pillars. This place is mentioned in Al-Azif's Necronomicon. All who knew of it held it in dread. Nephron Ka revived the worship of an old foul god, the Black Pharaoh. Soon Nephron Ka and that god were interchangeable in the minds of the people, and the sorcerer became known as the Black Pharaoh. Now no one can distinguish between their deeds and legends. For many years, the Black Pharaoh fought with Zoser's successors of the Third Dynasty for control of the land. So great was the power of the Black Pharaoh that no record of them now remains. For a time, Nephron Ka ruled the Nile and its peoples. At last, Snefru rose and founded the Fourth Dynasty, and with the aid of the goddess Isis, thwarted the evil magic and slew Nephron Ka. Remarkably, a pyramid was built at Medium by Snefru's command to contain the sorcerer's body. I speculate that this perhaps insulated Egypt from the still potent magic within the corpse. However, the Medium pyramid collapsed, and a second, which was already under construction, was hurriedly repurposed. The second pyramid is now known as the Bent Pyramid at Dashur. Records imply that Nephron Ka's corpse was removed from Medium and placed within the Bent Pyramid, but exploration of the site has discovered no trace, despite rumors of a hidden chamber within. So as he is saying this, Alistair, you have a sudden recall moment uh of a passage from Life as a God, and you are absolutely sure that he's right, that there's a secret room in the Bent Pyramid. And you're also pretty sure that if you go to the Bent Pyramid, you might be able to find it. Um,
Okay.
so Dr. Keftor continues. Another pyramid at Dashur, the Red Pyramid, is also attributed to Snefru. This pyramid is said to guard Dashur, lest Nefren Ka arise from the dead. Upon his triumph, Snefru ordered all traces of the Black Pharaoh stricken from the land. Nevertheless, worshippers of the Black Pharaoh remained and schemed for the Evil One's return. In time, the worshippers were driven south, out of Egypt, and into the hideous swamps beyond the Sudan. In the 6th dynasty, the cruel Queen Nitocris was thought to be in league with a new cult of the Black Pharaoh. Though the proof is subjective, I believe it to be true. Also, the Black Pharaoh is sometimes called by the name Nyarlathotep. Some say he was one of a pantheon of abominable deities, more ancient than the gods of Egypt. These old gods were utterly inhuman and dedicated to chaos and madness. Nefren Ka was said to possess a huge beast, of which the Sphinx at Giza is but a small and inaccurate representation. The voice of Nefren Ka is said to have been carried throughout the land upon a black wind, a wind which destroyed at his whim. One of the prophecies implies that the Black Pharaoh will arise, fingers and toes, after the Great Good One, a reference which may have been taken to mean 20 centuries after Jesus. A new age then begins, destined to end in the dominance of mankind, and bringing freedom and stark truth to the Black Pharaoh's followers. Manlike but inhuman worshippers of the Black Pharaoh were said to lurk underground in the deserts, occasionally waylaying innocent passers-by. The Great Sphinx at Giza is said to have had an important function in hideous rituals held by Queen Necrosis. I believe that the Black Pharaoh and Nefren Ka existed, as do the pantheon of gods of which the Black Pharaoh was a part. I've called them the Outer Gods, and they're led by the demon sultan Azathoth. I've seen servitors of these gods in the desert, and I know for a fact that the Brotherhood of the Black Pharaoh exists in present-day Egypt. I suspect that worship of the Black Pharaoh is growing in other parts of Africa. I've heard of a cult called the Bloody Tongue in Britain's Kenya colony. That cult worships a monstrous god, which I believe is just another aspect of the Black Pharaoh. Also, the Clive expedition. You've heard about them, right?
Yes, we have.
I'm sure that the unidentified mummy stolen from them was the remains of Queen Nitocris. She'd been buried alive, but no trace of her was found until the Clive expedition uncovered a secret room in the smallest of the Great Pyramids. I have no idea how or why she was stolen, but I believe that the theft relates to the prophesied return of the Black Pharaoh. I know that a Dutch archaeologist named Jan Wilhelm van Hoevelen was let go by the dig's supervisor, Henry Clive. I'd say if you want to learn more about the Clive expedition, you should try to track down van Hoevelen.
We were told maybe through the Dutch embassy. Would you have any other suggestions on how to find this gentleman?
I'd say that's a good start anyway.
I go. You have been more than upfront with us. What, gentlemen? Shall we give him a bit more information to confirm?
Yeah, all that crap you were talking about, we've run across.
Yeah, I go.
Yeah.
The Bloody Tongue is not just in Kenya anymore. It is in New York. that is whom killed Jackson Elias.
No, it was in New York.
It was in New York.
We took care of that.
Yes, but it was in New York.
Things were fixed.
Also, it's just for your information, since you've been
Fire cleansed.
it seems that Gavigan of the Pennu Foundation was the leader of the Black Pharaohs in England. That has now been taken over by someone named a female named
Zafira Shafiq.
Shafiq.
Dara
Uh,
Shafiq. I know
Dara
that.
Shafiq.
I know that name.
Yes.
You,
She
you
was-
do?
I do. She was a disciple of Omar al-Shakti.
And we know that this is a global thing because not does it connect to America, England, and Egypt, but also Kenya, China, and Australia. I don't know what version of the cult is in China. There's indications of something about a sand bat in Australia. And I definitely can tell you that Omar Shakti is definitely a major cog here in Egypt of the Black Pharaoh.
Interesting.
Only because Gavigan was the leadership of the Black Pharaoh in England until his untimely demise.
Interesting. Very interesting.
And we've been careful now that we've gotten here to be careful about what we say to whom. We've only talked to one other person, and that's because we're fairly sure Elias Jackson did see him, even though he doesn't remember it. And that would be the editor or the person who controls the Cairo Bulletin, I do believe. Or is that the name of the newspaper?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Not Nigel Wasif.
Yeah.
I know him. We've met on a number of occasions. Good gentleman, but
He's being careful. He made it very clear that we needed to be much more, be very quiet about the use of certain terms.
he also, while he understands what is happening, he
Right.
sees things in a very worldly way.
Mhm.
From the stories that you've told me, I believe that you, like myself, are a believer that there's more to this world than meets the eye. A lot more things than the average person sees.
Trust me, we've actually seen it. So there's a couple other names that Jackson had mentioned in his journal that I was wondering if you knew anything about. One is a antiquity dealer that is on the Street of Jackals named Fajar Nasser.
I'm sorry, I don't, but there's so many
Yes.
shops in the old city that's.
Well, I just know that he had particular contact with the Carlisle expedition, along with a M. Warren Bazart.
Yeah, no, I'm afraid I don't know that name either.
Well, I had to check. It seems that the Pennu Foundation was definitely for a while was in control of by the Black Pharaoh in England. So I'm quite sure that multiple digs they've done have been used to cover digging up stuff dealing for the Black Pharaoh.
Would not surprise me.
Mm-hmm. So, but you've given us a
I
lot
will
of good.
I will see what I can do. I'll make some inquiries and see if I can track down Jan Hoovelin's address.
Well, this,
Also, I'm willing to offer you a trade.
sure.
I'm guessing that you might have some books that have some significance on either the Black Pharaoh or the Cult of the Bloody Tongue.
Yes,
I
do.
myself have quite an impressive library of occult tomes. I'm happy to let you peruse through mine if I can see some of the volumes that you've collected.
Well, this is where we're staying. And I hand him the card with the hotel, and I have our room number there, or the phone number that to contact us. We would love to have you over for, an um, gentlemen, shall we say later on this evening, as our dinner guest.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you may,
Let's have dinner and read occult tomes.
and then, enjoy our accommodations and enjoy a sniffer of brandy while taking a look at some interesting reading material that we have acquired along our way.
See how my right eye doesn't look straight anymore? That's from one of the books.
We also have some interesting items of antiquity that we've picked up along the way that I'm quite sure you'll be interested in looking at as well.
Excellent.
Is there any other questions you gentlemen have at this time point?
No, I think he's given us quite a bit of information.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a cornucopia.
Mm-hmm.
And I thank him, and we look forward to seeing you for an early dinner tonight. Then, shall we say? What time is it now? Because I figure we took up most of the morning at the
Yeah,
newspaper.
Yeah,
I'm thinking
it's
around.
it's probably around 2 o'clock now.
Shall we see you around 5 then?
Very good. I'll come
Excellent.
over shortly after I lock up here.
All right, and then we will. And of course, mum's a word to anyone else about what we just talked about.
Of course.
And we leave, thank him, and we'll take the tram back. I'm going to keep an eye. I know I'm going to be keeping an eye out and seeing if anyone is watching us or following us.
Okay, make a spot hidden roll.
Because I'm being the suspicious type. I really think that we're going to be being kept an eye on. Whoa, extreme.
2 extremes. Nice.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're paranoid. After England, we're paranoid.
So, you haven't noticed anyone yet. You've been keeping a close eye out. You haven't noticed anyone yet.
Okay. Well, boy, maybe should I say maybe someone was a little bit too busy in England to inform others. I hope that is the case.
Well, my question: what time of the day is it?
It's around 2 in the afternoon.
Is there any shopping you want to do? Because he's going to be over in about 3 hours. Gives us a time to freshen up, maybe.
Well, why don't we see about making an appointment over at the Dutch
Yeah, that's
embassy?
true.
If not necessarily for today, how about for tomorrow morning?
Well,
'Cause we have our afternoon.
also, Dr. Kafour said that he'd put the word out and see what he could find out for you.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt though making the
Yeah,
appointment.
sure.
Yeah.
Just in case he doesn't hear anything back then.
Well, we're
Faster.
taking a tram right now, so we can probably ask at the hotel where the Dutch embassy is.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we're going to find out where the Dutch embassy is.
Or get the concierge to do see if he can't make an appointment for us.
Exactly, because that's what the concierge is there for.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, you get back. The concierge calls over to the Dutch embassy. It says, what exactly is this about that you would like the appointment
Oh.
for?
Now hold it here. Is this the Belgium Dutch embassy? When they say Dutch?
No, this is Netherlands Dutch.
Okay. All right. I had to ask. Otherwise, I would be able to put some plugs in, but
we were inquiring about a Dutch citizen in Egypt, and seeing if we could not if they knew his whereabouts, so we could make contact. We understand he was recently let go of his employment.
Okay. So the concierge calls over and says, okay, they could see you on Thursday at 10 a.m.
is tomorrow Thursday?
No, that's
No,
2
today's
days from
Tuesday.
now. Today's Tuesday.
All right. All right. Well, we got other things we could take a look at. So that sounds perfect.
Yeah, we get some stuff tomorrow.
Okay. I think this is a good place for us to stop for the night.
I feel like we got a lot of information.
Hmm.
2 locations. That's more than we've done in 8 months.
Don't go jinxing it now.
I tried to keep things
Well, sorry.
moving tonight. We spent the first half, kind of finishing level up stuff and, driving you more insane, getting you more mythos, and getting you some spells and stuff. But the second half, I tried to at least make sure that we were moving things along. So seems good here. Everybody okay with 2 weeks from today, which would be February 2nd?
Super Bowl Sunday.
Oh, that's Super Bowl Sunday. You can
I
tell
might
that now
wanna
that
watch that.
both my teams are out. Wasn't even remotely paying
Who won the
attention.
San Francisco game?
San Francisco won. So
Nice.
San Francisco and Chiefs. Jimmy G.
Um,
By a substantial margin. Holy smokes.
Yes, they did.
next weekend I can't do. I could do the 9th if that works for people.
That works for me.
The 9th is good for me.
Should be good for me.
Sure, I can't really see that far ahead, but what am I doing on a Sunday night?
All right. 9th. I remember. Okay.
Watch the highlights.
Great. All right, everyone. Well, thank you very much for coming out and playing tonight. Those of you watching on Twitch, thanks for watching. And please come back and see us in a few weeks on the 9th.
Sounds good.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night, and we'll go insane some more soon. Take care.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.